Hey, welcome to Picking Daisies, the podcast where we dive into all things messy, beautiful, and a little bit chaotic. I'm Mary Hendricks, your hot mess of a host, ready to walk with you through every laughable, cry-worthy, and grow-worthy moment. Every Tuesday, join me and an incredible lineup of fellow moms, women, and experts as they share their own stories of growth, resilience, and silver linings that they've uncovered. Together, we're building a village, a reminder that even in the thick of it, you are truly never alone. Because let's be real, we all have our mess. Everyone's got those moments. But here, we are finding the beauty in it, also the humor, and growing from whatever life and motherhood may bring our way. Welcome to Picking Daisies. Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to Picking Daisies. I'm so excited about this episode because I have one of my best friends here. So this is someone that is not an influencer. This is someone that is just a dear friend of mine who I want to share her story, and I want her to obviously share her story because this is someone who, she's a godmother of Haley, my youngest, one of them. And just the way we came to be friends is a really also big portion of your story. So I'm really pumped. But hi to Elizabeth Madzin. Say hello, everyone. And Elizabeth, say hi.
Hi. I'm like getting emotional already. I don't know what my problem is.
Well, it's fine. This is going to be a good conversation because Elizabeth and I have known each other how many years now?
It'll be 9 this year because I can equate it to my aunt's passing. So it was 2016.
Yeah. Because when did that happen? Right before I met you, or did that happen during?
Right after, during that time frame. So I probably met you like April, May of 2016.
That's right. Okay.
Because when did you get married? You were recently married.
I got married in 2015.
So that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said 2016.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So say hi, Elizabeth. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth. Like Mary said, I'm not an influencer, just a lay person, as we say. But I'm excited to talk about my lipedema story.
Yes. And that is why I'm having Elizabeth come on. So I met Elizabeth, as she said, 9 years ago as her personal trainer. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know that background of me. I've shared it before in Instagram stories. I don't know if I've ever shared it here on the podcast, but I was a personal trainer. That's what I was doing career-wise, kind of. I jumped around a lot because I got out of college and tried the whole working thing and I hated it. And I fell into personal training during my own fitness journey when I was getting married. And then I just fell in love with it. But I fell in love with the healing portions of it and introducing it as a way that's not unrealistic, fitness as an unrealistic, unattainable thing that's all or nothing. I really wanted to help my clients push back against that. And Elizabeth came to me, and that was because you were recommended by our other best friend, Anita. Yeah. And she's also, I should get her on here because her story is, yes. But we met each other and do you remember what your goal was when I started working with you?
No, I was post-college and I was thinking young professional. I just the post-college for me was a little rough because I was so independent and coming home. I was very fortunate to be able to come home and live with my parents, but I missed my independence. So I just sort of got into a bit of a rut, physically. And I saw Anita being jubilant with her body, and she introduced me to you and the rest of the team where you were at the time.
I think she lost 75 pounds. I think Anita,
she lost a lot. I think I lost 40, which I was very happy with at that time. And now in hindsight, looking back, I am glad I had that experience because it taught me a lot about my baseline of nutrition. And with you in particular, I will say this, you were a very good coach, Mary. Still are. You were very good at, it wasn't we have to do this and you have to do this. It was to your point, goals. So I would say you were a very good coach. You still are.
Thank you. Yeah, that was my big thing. I feel exercise, well, for me, I have a history of disordered eating or eating disorder. I still to this day struggle with it. I probably always will. It's just, it's built into my brain. It's how I've been hardwired, and I'm working very hard to fix that. But as we all know, it's not an easy thing. But for me, I wanted to show that in a way that we have never seen it be shared, because I feel when we go out for exercising or weight loss or things like that, we're always thinking aesthetics. We're always thinking we need to do it to look a certain way. And people forget that we are doing it because we want to feel a certain way. And those workouts need to not only be challenging your body, but your mind, and they should be improving your mind at the same time. Because if you're working for something and it's hell and you feel like shit, it's not worth it. So
it's not worth it, and you're not doing it for the right reasons.
No, and it's not going to stick. It's not going to stick.
Nope.
So that was my big thing. And I don't do it anymore because life has happened and I have my own issues with exercising these days, meaning, again, as I have my issues with eating, it's just...
Yeah. It's always going to be there, unfortunately.
It's always going to be there. And for me, like it's one of those that I get really scared of doing because if I start, then sometimes I can't stop. Yeah. So that's why it's like, I wish I could coach myself the way I coach others.
Because as your friend, I've
like
seen
that.
you. Yeah. I've seen you get into those situations. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sucks because it's like, why can I do it for others, but I can't do it for myself? But it's all like that. But the reason why I wanted to have Elizabeth on is because, as she had said, she wants to share her story with lipedema. And I wanted to have Elizabeth on because I think it's something very important to, like, obviously spread awareness of this.
Yep.
Is it a disease? Would you consider it a disease? Okay.
Yeah, it's a disease.
Okay. So I want, obviously, that awareness, but also, and I'd said to Elizabeth in conversation, it has changed my view of people who struggle with weight. And I really hope it does that for my listeners and for you guys listening, because I do think the world, the society we live in has a very strong narrative on people who carry weight on them and have bigger body sizes. And a lot of the times we don't realize that it's not a choice, that it may not be a lifestyle, that really it may be a disease. It may be an autoimmune disorder. It may be a hormonal problem. It may be something beyond someone's control, like, or in the opposite, it could be an eating disorder. You know, you don't know. And in general, I hate talking about bodies, but this is one instance that I think it's very important that we do.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to chat.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So tell everyone about lipedema and how you came to even explore it.
So lipedema, and I am not a doctor, so I always I always say, like, I am not the professional. But it is a fat disorder that essentially, it starts with connective tissue and disrupts many systems in the body, including the lymphatic system, and makes your body insulin resistant. So essentially, my body it stores fat. It has a problem ridding fat in the proper way. And when it affects the lymphatic system, it causes that. This is where the edema part. So it's like lymph, because it affects the lymphatic system, and edema means swelling. So lymphedema is the swelling part. And Mary, you can attest to this. I was always the person my whole life, was always thicker. I would say even as a kid, but my legs were always bigger. This is the common thread you'll hear with women with lipedema.
And this isn't just, and as someone, who knows you and has seen your body. Yeah. When I say, like, Elizabeth, like, your legs looked so uncomfortable.
Yes.
That's what it looked like. It wasn't someone, like, I was looking at her legs and being like, oh, they're really big. Like, none of that. Like, absolutely not. They were like all one size.
Exactly.
Because they were swollen. It wasn't normal. Like, no, it's like someone's got a booty on them because they got good fat in their legs. Yeah. You know that it's like good. You were like, it was solid. It looked like it hurt.
Yes. And I was very fortunate. A lot of women I know have a lot of pain. I never got to that point, thank God. Yeah. But long story short, I could never, when I was working with you, I lost a lot of weight, and I was always thinner on top, but like my trunk, they call it, like, your trunk could never get to, it would just essentially like stay the same. And one thing to know about lipedema, which I know now, and some people still find this hard to believe, but it is resistance to diet and exercise. So yes, you can, I've done all
you
of that.
Were like, that was the thing. My sister and I and Elizabeth, we all get along very well. But I remember even just being in conversation when you had started sharing about this with, I think you had gotten one of your surgeries, which we'll cover in a little bit. But my sister and I were talking, and I think before then she was like, I'm glad she's doing this, because we remember, like, you had a Peloton. Yeah. You were always going to classes. Mm-hmm. You were eating very good food. Like, you're not, like, again, that is what has changed. Like, you changed my mindset of it, because not that I ever didn't think that you were doing the right thing, but you just don't know. You don't know what's happening. It doesn't make sense, because for us, what we've been taught is that if you eat in abundance, you're going to have the weight. If you don't eat in abundance, you'll lose the weight. So it was like, it didn't make sense, where I was like, I don't get this. So that's what really challenged me, of being like, okay, well, this is now, it's not just as simple as the two things that everyone always tells you. To do.
Yep, exactly. And what's interesting, my family genetics, diabetes runs very high on my paternal side. Okay. So I was always very cautious of that. And my family, I would say, like, more so my dad, honestly, was like more the one, like, cautious about weight. My mom's side of the family, like, my mom, Mary, she's like, you're set. Like we look nothing alike. My mom's family, we generally look adopted because I look so different from all of them. So I'm like,
Your mom is petite. Like
petite.
Elizabeth's mom is, how tall is she? Like 5'2"?
Maybe like 5'3", but not like, she's
Okay, so
not a big
5'3".
person. Yeah.
No, she is tiny. I love when she works out. I love when she goes on her walks.
She's got so much energy. For 64 years old, she has more energy than me.
She's hilarious. Lori,
she is
if you're
hilarious.
listening, we love you. You crack
love
me
you,
up.
doll.
I love when she calls me on the phone. She'll call me on the phone.
Yeah.
But like, I think the first time she did, I almost actually kind of worried because I was like, I think you were in the hospital still.
Maybe.
And then I was really nervous that she was calling me about something. And she called and she was just shooting the shit. And I was like, I love this right now. This is great.
She's Mary's #1 fan. She just bought 2 of the journals. I don't know if I told you that.
Yeah, she told me
like,
that.
Your #1 fan. She wanted to have like a watch party when you were at Chamber Hall. It didn't come to fruition, but she's your #1 fan, as have I. But I think not that you're in this case, my parents are divorced. She was a single mom. So I think seeing a woman hustling, my mom was not around a lot of other women who like really hustled and worked. She really admires that about you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lori.
So we love you, dog. So during the pandemic, I really started to notice let me backpack a little bit. Like a lot of things that happened in my life. I had dealt with a lot of death in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
People very, very, very close to me, and all of them being women. And I sort of felt like my foundation was, and now in hindsight, my foundation was just cracking. I just felt like I could never get out of that like cycle of anxiety. And I now know with lipedema in particular, cortisol and all these stress hormones really have an effect on the body.
Yeah.
And that I know now, like I am also on Lexapro, and I'm very open about that because of my anxiety has helped me in a lot of ways. And in hindsight, I wish I'd been on it longer. So long story short, I just could not lose weight. And I remember I was at my annual OBGYN appointment. I will never forget it. She like touched my leg. She was like, "Why is your leg swollen?" That was the first person to notice like true swelling as like a medical professional. And she's like, "I would get this looked at." I somehow ended up at a chiropractor, and I mean this too. There's a lot of chiropractors out there. It's not the medicine for me anymore. I realize that now, like no shade to anyone, but just like from their training purposes, I went to a chiropractor and was misdiagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid disease. And my thyroid,
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Had always really been out of whack. And even my GP actually confirmed it. She was like, "Oh yeah, you have Hashimoto's." I'm like, "Why did we ever discuss this?"
Yeah.
And the biggest thing you'll hear me say, I hear it say all the time, is you have to be your own advocate. If you think something is wrong with you, and even if you trust your medical professionals, they are still human beings. They still, I don't want to say make mistakes. We're not always 100% right. So if you feel something is wrong with your gut, you got to keep fighting for it.
Well, we're also like, at the end of the day, we also are just another patient. So these doctors have hundreds of patients that they are seeing each year that we're just another person on their chart.
Yeah.
That they don't care. So if you want them to care and really look at you and be like, you have to shout at them essentially and be like, "Hey, can you just take an extra second and just really get to know my body?" Because I know it's just another body to them. So,
and what I realized, because I have a cousin in the medical profession, is that the way our system is set up is that they don't even have the opportunity to like sit with patients because they're booked back to back and they have to do paperwork. So the way I feel is so strongly about this country, the way our medical system is set up, especially as I've done my research compared to other countries, is so backwards. And our medical professionals don't even have the opportunity to treat their patients in the way that a doctor needs the time and that the patient deserves. So always be your own advocate no matter what it is.
Agreed.
And at the time it was pandemic time is where I really started to notice like the swelling started to increase, not just in my legs, in my arms. I remember specifically there was a photo and I remember seeing it looks like severe cellulite, the disease, because that's the indication of it is larger trunks. And I'm happy to share photos like of examples with people is that like, it does look like consistent cellulite all over your body.
When I edit this for social media, send me those because I can put over stuff.
Yeah, because everyone's like, "How are you diagnosed? Is it a blood disease?" I'm like, "No, it's a literal physical assessment." Because essentially, if this is your arm, your joint, there's the lipedema cells live right under the skin cells. So that's where like a lot of the pain for a lot of women come in because those fat cells essentially just sitting right there and they're not moving. They're not like moving through the lymphatic system like they're supposed to. So, excuse me, at the time it was probably around 25 when I really started to notice like I could not like get any weight off. Swelling was getting worse. I was getting more and more uncomfortable. And I just felt severe tightness in my legs. And I also started to notice, and this is something for women to know, Mary knows this about me, I always have to have my nails done. Except of course right now they're chipping off because I'm getting a manicure today. But
Girl, you need to come when you come up here or when we get together. I should do your nails because I've been doing mine at home.
Have you? Because I have an allergy now to the main ingredient.
No.
So I have to use Dazzle Dry. Luckily, I live in Philly, so luckily there's a thing here. I can tell you how it goes.
Did you get contact cellulitis?
Yeah. Well, I have contact dermatitis, which I'll get into.
Oh, yeah. That's what it is. Yeah.
From this whole situation, I have it. It like sort of came.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about that. Once you get that allergy, you can never get rid of it, apparently.
You can't get rid of it. And it gets it's in my eyes right now.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, so,
don't
that's
do
a whole
that
other
to
thing.
me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, never mind.
So I was like 25 and I kept going to my GP. We were living in Rhode Island at the time. And she was like, she did a thyroid. So she's like, maybe you have a tumor on your thyroid. Maybe that's why it's not working. She's like, all these things. I'm like, and at that point, I was just hoping for like a diagnosis to deal with that. So we came to a point, my doctor was like, listen, I don't know what else. I've done every blood test. I was like, otherwise you're healthy. Like, otherwise on paper, you're healthy, but I know what you're citing. Like, nothing is adding up. Luckily, in Rhode Island, there was a very small, they're a medical practice, but they focus on weight loss. Okay. And they're just, I really do believe in divine intervention, whatever you believe in. I really believe like angels were looking out for me at this point. And sent me to this practice. A woman had just started. I will never forget. It was the end of September, beginning of August. And we had just come back from vacation, Mary, with our families. Yeah. And I remember exactly what I was wearing, bike shorts and a tank top. And in a way, thank God it was summer. I was wearing that outfit because again.
And your red cowboy hat too?
If I ended up with my red cowboy hat, my mom is still like mortified by that story.
I know. Yeah. No one else knows. Sorry, inside joke, but Elizabeth once took a picture. We all family vacation sometimes together. We try, but my parents and Elizabeth's parents have gotten very close. Yeah. And Elizabeth came to a vacation in Martha's Vineyard, but she was coming from a bachelorette party
in
Nashville, and she had to catch an early flight, which you almost missed, didn't you?
I almost missed. Yeah, almost missed. Yeah.
And she was severely hungover to where now she had to leave with her bags, but she looked like a hungover. Mm-hmm. Just picture you at your worst with a red cowboy hat on, standing next to her bags.
Mm-hmm. Oh my head. And
her mom was like, dear God, Elizabeth.
With all these beautiful people on the plane, just ready for their vacation. And here I am. Yeah. So now it's a little inside joke between our families.
Yeah, that's great. But anyway.
Yeah. So around, I was wearing that outfit and I remember this woman, she was a nurse practitioner and this is important to know. She was a woman who studied other women's bodies and hormones and the thyroid in particular. They're all really connected. And she looked me up and down and I thought, my jersey and became, I'm like, this is like judging me. Yeah. But she could see, now I know she could see the disease on me. Yeah. She sits down, asks me a bunch of questions and is like, I think you have this disease called lipedema. Excuse me. And she was like explaining it to me and she was like, do you have pain in your legs? I'm like, well, honestly, this is back to my nail point. Honestly, only when I get pedicures. I've been getting pedicures, sounds so obnoxious, but like pretty much my whole life. And around 25, like I would have to ask them to stop the massage part because it was so painful, so painful. And I remember that now, like looking back, like, oh wow, that was a sign that I didn't know about. Yeah. And that like really set me on my journey so I got my official diagnosis. I was 28. It was September 2021. And from there, I started into what's called conservative therapies. So because it's swelling, you have to wear compressions. And
you should have seen these things.
Oh my God. I still have them, but they're much cuter now. But those things were
they're like big snow pants that like hooked up to a system. We'd be outside again.
No, that's my pump that I still have. Okay. Compressions are just like the regular socks, which are not. Okay. Yeah. If you like buy them on Amazon, they don't make them cute. They're like teal green. I like to look good. Like it just wasn't cute. So luckily at the time, like I do work from home still. I did at the time, still do. And I was able to really focus on it. So the conservative therapies was wearing the compressions and then going for lymphatic drainage massages at a medical practice, which luckily is covered by insurance. But that at the time they were like, and you can try keto. And keto helped a little bit, but keto also really like wasn't great on my stomach. It like really wasn't. Yeah. I just didn't feel like my best on it. And there was like all the, like this one thing I learned now again, like about like whole foods. Like, again, this goes back to my time that I met you. Like I knew like, I don't like to eat processed things. Like it's not just about looking at calories and whatnot. It's like the contents, because if you take something out, like fat, for example, you're usually adding something out in it like sugar or vice versa. So it was definitely a process, and I was less than a year than being diagnosed, and I was just very frustrated. I had the disease in my lower and upper extremities, meaning my legs and my arms. I didn't have anyone else in my life who had this disease. I'm fairly confident my paternal grandmother had this disease, and at that point she had passed away, and I just felt like very defeated is the best word. And now looking at hindsight, like, I was so anxious. I was so internally. On the outside, I don't know, tell me if you think differently.
No, and that's something I want to talk to you about at some point. Well, I had no idea. I had no idea.
No one really did, because really, except for Devin, my partner, because I just was so defeated. I felt like so defeated. I felt like my body was really fighting against me. And it was, because no matter what I did, my disease was going to progress. So it started me, and this is where, again, you go back to being your own advocate, do your own research. And like I said, we were living at Rhode Island at the time, and there wasn't a lot of options really for women's health, truthfully, because it's such a small state. And what I realized, the woman who diagnosed me told me, and she's like, I just learned about this disease. She's like, I've been in women's medicine 40 years, and I just learned about this. My cousin, who's in medicine, also focuses on women's health. She's like, there's no way you have that, because she's like, because there's lipedema and then there's lymphedema, which I'll get into the differences. Their causes, they're essentially affect the body in the same way. And again, I'm saying this as a non-medical professional, but their causes are different. So it set me on this tailspin of research, and really the only way to get rid of not rid of the disease, get rid of the fat that the disease causes, is through medical grade liposuction, which is done by a medical, plastic surgeon. But there's very few doctors in the country who focus on the lipedema itself, because what I learned from the woman who diagnosed me is that up until about, I don't know the exact time frame, but let's just say the last 50 years, and I'm making this number up, most medical research has been done on men. And we know, you have 3 kids. Women's bodies are so different than men. And this is something I was having this conversation with my uncle, who I love dearly, last week. He's like, women's bodies can't be that much different. I'm like, yeah, they really are.
They are.
We
with
have
the hormones.
The big thing is the hormones.
Even my sister, she was just Catherine, my sister. We were just talking, and her boyfriend, I guess, is taking they were talking. She said he's taking a tea break, so he's not smoking or anything. And because he thinks that he should put on weight, so she was like, he's such a buzzkill. She's like, because I'm here, and she's like, and he's not touching anything. But she was like, that's fine. But he's lost 15 pounds,
right,
in 3 weeks.
I would say in a couple of weeks, because. That's how men's bodies are.
What the?
I know. It's very annoying. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
And I think with the whole, I don't the body image thing. And everyone says this, but social media does not help. At the time, during COVID, especially, everyone's always like, oh, I gained the COVID-15, or I'm so fit because I can fit all these classes in. It's just, I noticed I really, the last couple of years, had to really tame down my social media, remove Facebook and Instagram apps for my phone during the workday. Because otherwise I'll just constantly go to it. Because,
I wish I could do that.
I know. And I don't want to, I was never one to scroll on TikTok, which I'm very thankful for. I have the app for people send it to me, but I'm not going to miss it come January 19th. So I really have to taper that down. And when I was doing my research, there's not, again, it's not other diseases that, are, I hate saying this, are more common, where you see a lot of things on social media. There was really nothing. Now women are starting to post their stories, but there was nothing really out there. So, long story short, I came to an advocacy group, and their goal was to help women get medical grade liposuction or lipedema covered by insurance.
Wow.
And so I started the process in April. I remember saying to a girlfriend, April 2021, that I wanted to do it. And I knew it was going to take some research. I'm very fortunate that I am in the place that I'm at, where I was able to do, because yes, their goal is to get it covered, but you still have to pay a lot of things out of pocket, which is another issue with the disease, because so much, again, because so much medical research has been done on men, there's not knowledge of this disease. So a lot of people, to take it seriously, you have to fight a little bit. And I hate saying that, but it is the reality. And that led me to my surgeon. His name is Dr. Boris Bolstein. And again, we were living at Rhode Island at the time, planning on making moves back down this way. And he just happened to be based in Monmouth County, New Jersey, where I'm from. So that gave me a great sense of peace. And he also worked out of the hospital that my grandmother actually passed away at. And Mary knows I was very close to my grandmother.
Very.
And that's where she passed away. So I just sort of felt again, it was just divine. And that's just how I felt. And at the time, I grew up fairly a devout Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I was an altar server, and I was really coming away from God, not just faith, but God as a whole. And now I've I don't want to say I'm a holy roller, but I got sick last year, and all that sort of brought me back. But now I know things happen, God has a plan. And it sort of led me to Dr. Bolstein, and he completely changed my life. So it took so I met with him in June 2021. I went with my mom, and even she was like, I don't want to say hesitant, but until you hear from a medical professional, like, this is what you have, I think it's hard for people to take it seriously. And he sat with us for about an hour and a half, explained the disease as whole, looked at my body, because he's like, I without a doubt think you have this in both upper and lower extremities. And my mom got very emotional because she was like, I think the reality hit her, because you do have the disease forever.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate in the sense that at the time I was 28, 29, and I just got diagnosed, because this disease, as it progresses, it gets worse and worse and worse. It gets to a point where medical intervention is not an option. So the younger you are with this disease and true intervention, the better. And again, this is me saying this from my knowledge. And from there, so that was June 2021, and I got approved for surgery. I remember we were on vacation again in August, and I got my first denial, and I was like, give me all the wine. I was pissed. I was so pissed.
Yeah.
Because I was like, but I needed to get pissed, because that's what kept my fight going, truthfully. And I was officially approved in December of 2021. So it really wasn't that. It was about a 6-month process. And they approved me for 5 surgeries, meaning that it was medical liposuction on the front of my legs, the back of my legs, my arms, and then my torso. And I am a very impatient person. And sometimes it is a benefit and sometimes it's not a benefit. In this case, I have to say it was a benefit.
Life.
Yeah. Yep. So it was a benefit for sure, because I just was on the phone with people for where I work for HR. I was on the phone with the insurance company, because again, no one is going to do it for you. No one is going to do it for you. Even the advocates, they were amazing. They lined out everything. And so that started me in the process of surgery. And I did it. This is something in hindsight, I realized I don't think about things. I just sort of do them. I do.
That's what I do. Yeah. I kind of catch up afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So January 25th of 2023, so almost 2 years ago to the day, was my first surgery, and that was the front of my legs. So essentially what they do is they go in, and again, you can look up the proper, how it's different from traditional liposuction. So yes, my doctor, Dr. Bolshin, is a plastic surgeon. That is how he's trained, but he is also, I would think he would call himself a lipedema specialist. He is amazing. He educates himself on the disease. He's taken a great, I would say his life's work to get as many women coverage, and he's not in it for the money or anything like that. He's in it to help women, which is so amazing. Him and his team, again, they completely changed my life.
We'll link all of it for everyone listening. I'll make sure I include all the links for the advocacy group, him, and everything that we can think of. We'll put in the show notes. That way, if anyone here, or if you know anyone or things like that. Yeah.
And I will say this, Devin, my partner, will stop me sometimes. We'll be in the streets, more so in the summertime when women are more exposed. And I remember when I was diagnosed, someone saying to me, you're going to see other women out there now, and it's going to be so hard for you not to go up there because you want to help them. And there's someone in my life that, well, I won't say here, I'll tell you offline, I'm not close to, but is close to someone I'm very close to.
And I know without a fact.
I know without a fact.
I know after learning about you and everything, there's a woman that lives in our neighborhood that goes to the pool that we are, our HOA pool. I know she's a grandmother, because I know she brings her grandkids. Okay. But I know also that she has it and it feels so bad for her, but she comes daily, because during the summer, that's all I did with the kids.
Yeah.
But she comes to the pool and she just sits in something that supports her in the pool, and she just sits there, and her husband brings her, because I think she just needs
relief.
Yeah. And she just does that.
Yeah.
But her legs are it sounds terrible, tree trunks. Where it's thick. It's one hollow size, and you can tell, and her ankles and her feet are just so swollen.
Mm-hmm.
But same with her arms. Her arms are same trunk, where it's not the normal. You know,
it's just
when someone has extra weight on them, that you can tell is kind of that flimsy.
Yes.
Weight, if that makes sense. This is solid mass that's not going anywhere. It's it almost looks like cement is in her legs.
Yeah, because she's probably so uncomfortable. And I would imagine water is one of the best compressions I've learned.
Yeah.
And probably that's probably how she gets relief, honestly. Yeah. And it's just terrible.
So how would you recommend talking to someone then?
It's so hard, because I still don't have that figured out. It's
because you don't want to bring up weight. You never want to bring that up.
Especially with certain people who are very sensitive about it in general. I'm very open. I've shared my story on my personal social media. I'm very, very open, and not everyone is like that, but I feel that I talk about it because 1 in 9 women have this disease. Many of them don't know they have it. Many women like me are misdiagnosed and they just believe that, okay, maybe obesity runs in their family and they're just like, this is just how it is. But we don't have to live that way. And I feel like I was diagnosed at a young age and I was fortunate to have X amount of surgeries, and I'm on, I don't want to say the other side, but like the healing side of it now, where I want to help other women.
Well, and I think that's so important too, because what I would imagine, and again, I'm just putting myself in someone else's shoes and just assuming, is it breaks my heart to think of how many women probably have had this and have it and don't know and are so discouraged, probably just with everything, but also themselves, because like it, again, from what I said, is like you were taught that obesity, being overweight is a choice. People make it seem like you're lazy, you're not disciplined enough, you're not motivated enough, you're not smart enough because you're not figuring out what you want to eat, you're not privileged enough, you're not whatever it is. Like we do this where we really put that blame on ourselves.
Yes,
and
exactly.
to be discouraged constantly by not seeing the results that you are just basic results. Like, it's not like these people are trying to enter a bikini competition. It's not like you were doing it. You were just, you just wanted to move your body. Yeah. And it was not budging. And I can't imagine how exhausting that would be to feel stuck
it is.
in it. And
that's
and like, you get discouraged. Like, did you want to give up on exercise? Like, did you want to even not bother and say, fuck it? Like,
well, it got to that point where, like, once I learned that the disease was resistant to diet and exercise, there was a period of time where I did totally give up. Like I had started the process of, I was like pretty sure that I was going to get the surgery approved. So I had started that process, but I was like, well, if nothing else is going to help, well, I'm going to eat the ice cream and I'm going to
fuck it. Yeah.
Okay. And they also said, like, when I was diagnosed, that you can't do every exercise. Like to your point earlier, I was like an avid Pelotoner. Like I was before, I was like avid, went to the classes in New York City. Like I was diehard. You could not convince me otherwise. But I now know, like, spinning, especially without compressions, is not, I don't say it makes it worse, but like it makes you more swollen because that lymphatic system is not, when you have a compression and the muscle contracts off the compression, that's what gets the lymphatic system flowing.
Gotcha.
You have lipedema and the muscle contracts, can't break through that fat. Gotcha. So it just sits there and makes the swelling worse, essentially. So I was, unbeknownst to me, doing all the wrong things, but now I know. And I used to think like, oh, I couldn't get through my day if I didn't take a spin class. I was like addicted. Like it was like addicting.
Because they feel great too. That's why.
Totally.
So yeah.
And like these people are inspiring. The pandemic hits and you're like, oh, this is a great community. And I still think Peloton has a great platform. I just wish I could spin still. I have this on my bike, but it is what it is. But again, it's the learning curve and realizing that, again, like, and this is where, for me at least, like social media comes into play. Like, okay, yeah, doing 25 crunches a day may work for that person to get a 6-pack, but like your body is just different. And what I always say, like, you have to do what works for your body. That's what I learned. There is no one.
And that's why, like, for me, as someone with eating stuff, like, that's my issue. I hate what I eat in a day. I hate when people share what I eat in a day because your body processes food differently. Your calorie needs are all different. Like, you can look at it as a model.
Yes.
But like, I remember that even like, I used to hate when I was growing up in like 17 magazine, they'd put like what, like the Britney Spears is eating.
Yeah, totally.
Because then I could do it and be like, just go be like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, exactly. And because you see it's out there, and society, like, again, makes us believe that, like, oh, you have to say, like, I just watched Bridget Jones' Diary. It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah. But to think that woman was like, quote unquote, overweight
does that piss you off?
It pisses me off so badly. Can't. I just can't, because I'm like, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So all to say is, I'm like now, quote unquote, on the other side. I still have to do conservative therapies. I still wear compressions. I'm wearing them right now. I still, to like Mary's point earlier, I had this giant compression pump that I do on my arms. I just did it this morning on my arms and my legs. I had to do a half an hour each day. I'm very fortunate. We live in Philadelphia now. We have incredible medical care here. I go for lymphatic drainage massages once a week. That's covered by insurance.
Amazing.
And which is great. And I've had a total of 6 surgeries. 4 of them were liposuction. I had a bit of a complication last year. That was a bit of a setback. I won't go into the gory details because it will probably scare people, but I'm very thankful that for lots of things that's where like everything sort of set in for me, that I was like, whoa, this was
This is big.
Big deal, a big
Yeah.
deal. And it was a lot on my family. It was a lot on my mom. It was a lot on Devin. And after all that, they were like, no more. Cause I was like, again, I got a little obsessive.
Yeah. Well, because you found the
But
solution.
I found the solution.
You found the solution. And now you're like, I want it all, essentially.
Exactly.
That's normal. Well, and now another thing that I want to go into is another solution that you also found is
GLP-1s. And I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
So I was actually with Mary today. I took my first shot. It was
did I do it to you or did I
do a shot because I was scared. I thought it was gonna hurt.
Yeah,
I
think I may have done it for you.
Yeah, you think you did. I think you did. And Mary, I'm so sorry. Can I shook my sourdough? Also, this is like I'm so sorry.
Go do it.
I'm so sorry.
I love it. This is why I like podcast guys. Because you get just
this is
real.
This is real life. Here I am in my kitchen with my sourdough.
I can hear you perfectly fine, so you can just keep talking also.
Okay. So.
Wait, are you on a sourdough kick?
Have I not told you this?
Well, I think you did. I just haven't gotten into all that yet.
It's a part of my Nina story. Look at this. I did make this for someone else.
Oh, look at you, Miss
Highly
Fancy
sourdough. Everyone's
baker.
So easy. I've become very, through all this, I become very earthy, crunchy.
Hey, I don't
think I'll ever buy bread again. So yes. So I've been on Wegovy since April of 2023. So over a year and a half now.
Yep.
It was recommended by my surgeon, Dr. Wolsheen, who, and I won't lie to you, I had known a couple people on Ozempic, and I was like, oh yeah, again.
That's when it was really that was when it was trendy. And I remember when you went on it, it was kind of like, I don't remember you being hesitant, but I remember it came up and like, I know my own mom, because you had told my mom about it. My mom was very nervous about it.
Yes.
Because she was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, as were a lot of people. Like one of my aunts was like sent me a New York Times article, and like a lot of people, and I appreciate that, because at the time, like now I know, like I've done my research, but we thought it was this brand new drug that like people would just
been around for like 20 years.
It's been around for 20 years, and it is a diabetes drug. And again, to my point earlier, on my paternal side, diabetes does run very high. And my A1C at that time, which is like how they dictate diabetes typically was on the higher side. So, and even though it's interesting, like, even though no, I'm not diabetic, but essentially I'm insulin resistant because of lipedema, which is what diabetes is. So it is very interesting, like that correlation. I'm not saying that diabetes runs in my family and I have lipedema because of that, but it is just like an interesting correlation. So so I've been on about a year and a half. I say that like this is like sometimes a trigger for everyone. So all in all, I've lost about 60 pounds, but I've fluctuated. Like I've gone up like, 5 or 10 pounds like here and there, but I've stayed around that like 60-pound mark. And I know that sometimes that's like a trigger for people, but I'd say that that's not all because of the GLP-1. I lost, like, I can't correlate, you lost X from the surgeries and X from this, but like, just as an example, my first surgery, I think my doctor, just the front of my legs, took about 16 liters of fat out.
Oh my God.
So, and I don't really know what that correlates, but like, it was a lot. So for again, this is what I appreciate about Dr. Wolsheen. He does his own research, and he said, we're finding that women with lipedema are benefiting from these drugs because if you think about it, again, like you're insulin resistant and your body doesn't burn off fat. So if you have less that you're consuming, it's less to burn off. So it took a very long time for it to get approved. And he was very hell bent on the fact that like, it has to be Ozempic. But I should say he wasn't, but I think that's just what people were thinking at the time. And now I know like Wegovy and Ozempic are essentially the same thing. They're just marketed. One's marketed for, weight loss. One's marketed for diabetes. And knock on wood, it has, between the surgeries and this, again, I feel very thankful. I'm very blessed that this happened to me in the time of the world that it happened, because 10 years ago, this might not have been an option for me.
Yeah.
And it's changed completely changed my relationship with food. There's a lot of research coming out that it affects women with lipedema in particular. There's a influencer I follow who I'll also tag, the Lipedema Mamas. They have another great podcast. It's great for information if like you're new to the disease.
Amazing. Yep.
And one of them, I believe, is also, I don't know which one is also on it. And there is a lot of benefits coming out from it. It reduces the swelling. That food noise everyone talks about is gone, that like guilt. It's just, for me, it's created a much better relationship with food because yes, I've had these surgeries and yes, I'm doing the conservative therapies, but I still have the disease. It's not like
you still have it, but your body also wants to collect fat. So if you can have something extra to kind of help you limit that intake, it's a part of it. So there's a lot of it. Like I have everyone listening, Katie, if everyone listens and remembers last season, I had Katie's Corner. Katie Casas, she shared her journey where she's taking, I think it's semaglutide.
Okay, yep.
So it's similar to all of it, but she's lost, I'm going to guess, I want to say she's probably lost about 40 to 60 pounds also. But she's PCOS and she's just been, she's tried everything.
Everything. Yep.
And people give her shit for it. And she's like, it's not like, I think they get angry. I think we should get angry when we see, I think celebrities, you can tell what celebrities are using it that did not need it.
Yeah.
And I think that calls into question the idea of this thinness, because I think that whole heroin chic look of being really underweight is coming back into style, which
I hate that.
Please, can we just fucking not? But I think like that is where, yes, there's an issue. Hi. Hello. What's up? I don't know. I'll take a look. Okay. All right. Going up. Okay. Cass, you want to say hi real quick? Everyone, Cassie is homesick up here cleaning right in front of the. You say hi.
How are you feeling?
How are you feeling? She wants to know. Better.
All right. Well, I hope you feel better. I love you.
She says, I love you. All right.
Love her.
I forget what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. So I think we should get mad at the celebrities that, you know, that makes sense. But there are people that have tried everything like you and not for nothing. Life is really fucking busy. Yeah. And not everyone has. Yeah. And like, even if it is something where maybe someone doesn't have lipedema or someone doesn't have PCOS or someone doesn't have something that is making it super hard, maybe their life is just making it super hard. Like people forget that. Like it just, if it's one thing that you can incorporate that you can do that will help you get to a healthy state, if your doctor is advising it, go for it.
Yeah. And what I get really annoyed about this whole this is why I'm open about, again, I am blessed, I will say. I always thank God, and I don't mean this in an obnoxious or cocky way. I'm very blessed with my personality. We are who we are. Like we're born who we are. And I'm very fortunate that I feel like I was an only child growing up. I didn't have siblings. My personality is what, like, I have a very full life with friends like you, and that's because of my personality. And I feel
it is.
That's just like God given. It's not just how I was born. But I talk about, my whole point is like, I have no problem given my personality talking about it because I am proud of it. And it's really helped me. And the issue I have with two things with these drugs, people taking these drugs, is people who don't need it and are getting it from not reliable sources. You know, I think that people really need to be careful of that. If you don't know where it's coming from,
don't take it.
Putting it in your body. That's my opinion.
Yep.
And going on and off of it. Like a lot of people are like, oh, what about the GI problems? I'm like, well, yeah, those come into play when you go on and off of it and you play with the drugs. You shouldn't be doing that. So for me, I've been on it steadily. I had to go off of it for about a month last year. Like I said, I had a bit of a complication from a surgery and I needed to have like a certain protein take. So I had to stop taking it just for a month. But as soon as I could go back on it, I did.
Yeah.
The misuse of it essentially is what really drives me insane.
Yeah.
And also the judgment. I've had people say to me, someone in particular, who I won't say here, just was like, well, I saw so-and-so on the news and I said to this person, well, I have an insulin resistant disease. You don't know why people are taking it. Did you tell someone to stop taking their high blood pressure medication? Like, yeah. And there are side effects with everything. There are side effects if you take aspirin every day. There just is.
Lexapro, like ISSRI, but like.
Exactly. For me, if the benefits outweigh those, then, and you have to do what works best for you. And everyone's like, when are you planning on going off of it? I'm like, I am not. Until I want to have a baby one day, I am not planning on going off of it. And that's just because my doctor is like, it's working for you. You know, you're not emaciated. I'm at like a healthy weight and I just feel so much better. So much better.
That's what's important.
And
that's what's important.
Yeah. And the swelling is gone. And I still have to use conservative therapies. Is it a commitment? Yeah, I won't lie to you. It's a commitment. But if that's what I have to do, that's what I have to do.
Exactly. Well, and to finish out this podcast and stuff like that, what I want to touch on is obviously your personality. I never would have ever guessed you having any sort of body, what word am I going for? Body image issues. Did you?
I don't know. And say that confidently. I don't know if I have a body image issue.
What do you credit to that? Do you credit just your attitude? Environment? Yeah.
My environment. I have divorced parents. My mom's side of the family was always very thin. Naturally, just very thin.
Yep.
But I never felt, I don't know, I just never felt like different from other kids. I was bullied as a kid. I'm honest about that. A kid on the bus bullied me. But I just think I was very fortunate. I had a great group of friends around me all the time. I was around people who also, it's not like, and I mean this in a loving way, like I was around friends who also weren't like stick figures. Like we all had different body shapes and sizes and whatnot. And so like that, I knew there was something wrong with me always. Like I always knew I was like a little different, like because I knew my legs were just bigger. But I don't know. I honestly just luck. Truthfully, just luck. I had my mom, to my point earlier, is my best friend pretty much till I was like 9, raised me on her own. And really is the matriarch of our family, took care of all of her siblings, still does to this day. And if I didn't have her support, in life, like I would not have the attitude that I do. She was raised by a single mom. So I just always had a lot of, I will say this, very strong women around me. I realize that now. And my mom was never hesitant for me to get close to other women. You know, she traveled a lot for work. I was at my paternal grandparents' house all the time. My grandmother and I were very, very, very close. I was also incredibly close to my mom's mom. And they actually died a year apart from one another. And that goes back to like, like the stress and all, like that was a lot. It was my one grandmother lived with me. I was the caretaker of my other grandmother. It was stress. Stress does a lot to your body. Like stress and anxiety does a lot to your body. Yeah.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, exactly. And
that was me. So like as an opposite, I lost a lot of weight this summer and a lot of people kept asking me, you look great. That was my biggest thing. Or like, how did you lose weight? And I hated that because like it's on the opposite side. It was like, just don't talk about anyone's bodies because like people kind of think too that like weight gain is a bad thing where like weight loss is a good thing. Like we always look at those two as like, if you're losing weight, that means that you're doing good. If you are gaining weight, then that means that you're doing bad. And I'm like, well, actually it's because my body it is like, I'm working on it right now. Like I have a crazy internal stress. Like my cortisol is insane, but like that, or I have stress induced what we believe is ptosis, like itosis, like Bell's palsy type of thing. That's why my eye kept going all fucked up all summer when I thought I was having a stroke. Remember that?
Yeah, I didn't feel
but
that.
It will go. But if you notice it, like right now, it's actually okay. But I just filmed last week. It gets really bad during PMDD. Like right now, it
you
gets
said
really
that,
bad.
yeah.
But like anytime that I'm more stressed, I might not even feel it. This will start to go.
So interesting. See, stress manifests in a myriad of ways throughout the body. Crazy ways. Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're treating.
Yeah, you just gotta you gotta treat it the best way you can. What works for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I just was always very lucky. I was always surrounded by wonderful people. I come from an incredibly social family. We're always still we're big social people. So I just think yes, I was very anxious internally when I was alone. I was like very anxious about things, but I love to be around people. I still do. Like even during COVID, there were times like I was like cautious, but like I tried to be around as many people as possible because for me that's what fueled my fire.
Well, and living. I can say too, like, and for everyone listening, like I know how hard being in a body that your mind is not fully wrapping its head around. Like I know that, like from a different, it's really hard to want to get out or wear things or whatever. But like like I said, I never got a sense from you that you were ever like, for me, I've lost weight. I could lose a ton of weight and I could still look in the mirror and be like, oh God, I can't wear this, or like self-conscious about how I look.
I have those moments. I still do.
Yeah, but of course everyone does. Yeah. But from you, I never noticed it, but also I never noticed your body. I noticed it when you were more in pain. Like I said, like I noticed when it was really swollen. Like I could tell that you looked uncomfortable. I think you were walking uncomfortable.
I was so uncomfortable walking.
I just remember that's what I noticed, but I never noticed your body. And the reason I say this because your personality is very strong. It's very bright. Yeah. Like that's why Elizabeth is one of my best friends. So it's that takes over. And I want everyone here to listen to that. Like I know that, but like no one sees your body. They see you. So focus on that portion. Like I know if the body portion feels like it's not under control right now, because I get that, focus on the energy that you want to give off to people. Be that sunshine on people's face, because that's what you feel like to me. That's why I always say surround yourself with people that feel like sunshine. Like seriously, you know that feeling when you stand in the sun? That's how your friends should make you feel. I
agree. And if they don't, it's okay to weed them out.
Yes.
I've had to do that. It's not easy, but if there are people in your life that you leave a conversation with them and you feel so depleted and drained of energy, it's okay to say like, I need to remove myself from this situation. Take a break.
Put boundaries up. It's okay. You just
and it's so interesting. There are people in my life that I'm thinking of one person in particular that as I've gotten thinner and healthier, this person had like shown their true colors. I would say you will see that too in these situations because people can't be happy for other people, which is mind-boggling to me.
It's a reflection on them.
on them, totally. And if that's them, that's their own problem. And okay, and again, it's okay to remove yourself from that situation, because when people show you their true colors, you got to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The first time too. When someone shows you who they are the first time, believe it.
Believe them.
Don't make an excuse. Just believe it and move on. Put them in a box that you pull off the shelf every now and again. And sometimes you need that friend that you can just like be a Debbie Downer with. I feel like that's important. But then you need the other ones that are going to like be like, no, all of that was bullshit. Yeah. Sometimes you just need that like,
you do.
Everything sucks, friend.
Exactly. Like it's okay to want to like bitch and be like, I gotta sit here and veg and like bitch with this friend.
But you don't need someone that is going to bring you down or make you feel unsupported or any of that. So yeah, I'm so glad that you came on and shared this, because I think this is going to be big. Because
thank you for having me.
Always.
I love talking about it. Everyone out there, I'll share my personal. Feel free to just like message me on Instagram. It is private, but feel free to message me. I love talking about this. If you feel like you have certain symptoms or are looking for resources or just anything, if I can help one person in my lifetime with this disease, I will feel very satisfied, because I know there's so many women out there who are suffering and don't know and don't have the resources or whatnot. And I just want to help as many people as I can.
I love it. I love it. So again,
you.
For everyone,
thank you for having me.
Always. Again, for everyone, I will put all the info that Elizabeth included for Lipedema and advocacy groups and her doctor that she visited, and her, again, like I said, her Instagram, her private Instagram. She's not an influencer. She's not someone out there, but she is there to answer questions and just be another source of info to get control of this if this is something that you want to explore. Yeah, I know how tough it can be in a body that feels uncomfy, but there's hope. Always have
hope.
Keep it on the table.
Yeah, and you and Anita have been two of my biggest supporters, so I'm very, very thankful for that. It's, again, having good people around you, to me, that's like the best part of life. So I want to thank you for being such a big cheerleader for me.
Always love you.
I love you.
Yeah. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. I'm going to pause it, but I love you guys listening. Go pick some daisies, grow through what you go through, bloom where you've been planted. I'm going to come up with something else witty. I don't know. If I were to ask my kids, and they'd say, don't poop your pants. So
we've all been there.
Especially if you are listening or on some Wegovy. Can't you poop your pants on that stuff?
Not to be too graphic, it's the opposite. And if you have an incontinence problem, it helps with that.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, for me at least.
Okay, well, or if you go into like a TJ Maxx or a Marshall's, don't poop your pants today. If you're there listening right now as you're browsing, maybe you're on a mommy vacation or a solo errand run.
Yeah.
If you're in one of those stores, don't look at the lights. I think that's what does it. So, all right. All right, Mama, that is a wrap on today's episode of Picking Daisies. I hope today's chat left you feeling seen, understood, and maybe even gave you a good laugh along the way. As we all know, motherhood isn't easy, life isn't easy, but it's moments like these where we can connect and share our stories that really help make that load feel a lot lighter. So if you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean the world to me if you could take a moment to leave a rating and review. Your feedback not only will help this show grow, but also it will make sure it reaches other moms who might need that same dose of honesty, humor, and heart. And don't forget, if something in today's episode resonated with you, share it with a friend or hop on over to Instagram or wherever you connect on social media and keep the conversation going. I love hearing your stories and being a part of this journey with you. Thank you for being here and for showing up for yourself. And then, of course, sharing that space with me. So until next time, remember, we all grow through what we go through. You've got this, Mama. I'll see you next week.